Hello and welcome to the fifth annual Black Women in Media Awards. I'm your moderator, Oni Higgins, and you're here at the Black Women in Media Finance panel. I have two amazing women in the finance industry who are joining me virtually. First up is Falashade Ayubusi, and she's an enrolled agent, an accountant, and a small business growth strategist. She's also launching a new initiative called She Knows Her Money, which is aimed to encourage women to know their numbers and become financially secure and create generational wealth. Also joining me is Daisha Kennedy, and she's a financial activist, a finance coach, and creator of the Broke Black Girl, which is a national online platform dedicated to dismantling the racial and gender wealth gap. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me today. How are you?
Fine. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, just reading the bios alone, that's so much knowledge in the room today with us. So, it's going to be a great panel. So for everyone tuned in, make sure that you have your pen and paper ready to take some notes, because I'm sure that they're giving us like all the tea that we need when it comes to finances. So ladies, our theme for this year is pivot. That's our keyword. And, with everything going on with quarantining and the pandemic, a lot of us had to pivot and change ways that, we were accustomed to. So what are some ways that you ladies had to pivot within your career and just in these tough times? I'll start with you, Falashade.
Oh, wow. So I actually had to pivot 100% virtual. So we have our brick and mortar where we normally would see clients year round, tax season swamped, right? This year, COVID threw us for a loop. So we had to completely adjust all of our processes, our systems, and then also try to create a virtual experience that the clients would like and it won't seem so tedious. So that's how we had to pivot. We had to come from behind the office, in the office, to strictly 100% online.
Yeah, I see that with everywhere. So, with supporting Black businesses, a lot of businesses picked up. So hopefully it turned out great for you as well. What about you, Daisha?
Well, surprisingly, my business has always been virtual, but it was a huge moral issue for me when COVID-19 happened, because I work with people who are starting at the very basic in financial literacy. So I have clients who are really struggling already financially. So I found it real tough to continue to go forward, trying to reach more clients and get them to sign up for more services. So I had to pivot completely in my business. And what I started to do was creating financial literacy content for other financial literacy coaches so that I can still sustain my business. So I picked up my social media presence and I still serve my audience. But when it came to finances and making sure my money still stayed afloat, I started doing what I already do for other financial literacy coaches.
Nice. I'm sure if it's one thing that COVID and this pandemic has taught us was getting our finances in order, because no job is like a guarantee, as we've all seen. So what are some tips that you guys have been giving out to people during this time to help them get their finances in order? I'll start with you, Daisha.
My biggest thing that I've been encouraging my clients and also my audience is to change their perspective on money. COVID-19 showed us that whatever we thought finances was and how to prepare and how to manage our money is completely different. So for people who are spenders, we now see how that really can impact us when you're not prepared to save when you haven't been saving. So my biggest piece of advice is to completely change your perspective on money and be adaptable. Be adaptable to changing some of your financial goals. I know COVID really kicked off at the beginning of the year. And at the beginning of the year, we are super hyped up. We have all of these goals that we're going to do, 2020, new year, new me. But COVID-19 changed all of that. So being adaptable and knowing how to change your perspective on money is the message that I've really been pushing out to some of the people that I've been speaking with.
Nice. And what about you, Falashade?
One of the biggest advice that I would give most individuals that we have to assess our level of accountability now, because as Deja said, we set those major goals. 2020 was the year we set them. However, we can still get close to achieving those goals. We just have to make some internal adjustments. And it goes back to how deep we're willing to hold ourselves accountable to achieve those goals. So if we had to pivot and we didn't pivot, then most of those businesses that didn't pivot, they're struggling right now. So they're supposed to now hold themselves accountable to the fact that they didn't make the right decisions at the right time and pivoted when they were supposed to. So my biggest advice is that 2020 right now, we need to go deep into self-accountability. And then that allow us to be realistic and honest with ourselves and apply exactly what Deja just said, and then reevaluate those goals, reassess our businesses, and then go from there.
Nice, nice. And we've seen, well, at least to me, I think 2020 birthed a whole new set of entrepreneurs, a whole new set of businesses. Just give me, what are some tips for some people who may be looking to start a business? What do they need to know financially? What do they need to have financially set before thinking about entrepreneurship?
Mm.
Any one of you ladies could jump in first. I won't tell you that.
I'll chime in because one of the things that I do see a lot for people who are looking to start businesses, especially during a high time like this where there is a need for new businesses. We're seeing all of these things that are popping up, especially virtually. When I think of what a new business owner should have under control when they think about starting a business is their personal finances first. It is almost impossible to excel in your business finances if you have not tackled your personal finances. And a lot of people don't understand how closely those two are connected. They are very connected. So I would say first, analyze exactly who you are personally in the world of personal finance. One of the things that I live by is that personal finance is personal. So we may see different financial coaches give different pieces of advice, but you really have to tailor it to yourself and know exactly who you are in terms of getting started in your personal finances. So that is the first thing that I always will say to any business owner, new, old, first tackle that portion first, because when you get into business, it is a whole new ball game. Because in a lot of cases, you're not just responsible for yourself. You're probably going to be responsible for someone else's paycheck. You're probably going to be responsible for the business actually functioning. And if you are struggling with sticking to a budget, sticking to a grocery list, it's going to be hard to shift over into a new mindset when you're thinking about building a business.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. And what about you, Kalashide? Do you have anything to chime in on there?
No, Deja took it right out my brain, because as the accountability accountant, I show the distinct connection between your personal finances and your business finances. And I've seen from the front line that when an individual start a business and they don't have their personal finances in order, it is chaotic. It never seems to pan out. Like right now, I'm working with a client. It has taken me 3 years to just get them consistent in sending me the paperwork. And it shows because they wasn't disciplined and structured in their personal lifestyle. They were all over the place. So now I'm trying to get their books in order, everything in order. And it's almost impossible because they didn't have their personal finances in place and doesn't understand the connection.
And just to piggyback off of that, too, is exactly what you said. They don't understand the connection. In personal finance, a lot of the things that we do is built out of habit. So if he's inconsistent, it's very hard to develop a natural habit of being aware of what you have coming in, what you have going out. Everything that surrounds your personal finance is difficult to jump out of those habits and then go full-fledged starting fresh when you're building the business. Like she said, it's almost impossible to do that, to make that shift.
No, definitely, for sure. And, this year, I feel like a lot of people were able to save a bit more because we've, been home. We haven't been eating out so much, not using so much transportation. I mean, granted, a lot of people did lose jobs and things of that sort. So talk to me. I read something that said, $10,000 in your savings account is still going to be $10,000 in your savings account years from now. Like, you need to invest that money and create other streams of income for that money to grow. Is that something that you ladies agree with, or how important is saving in general?
Yes, I totally agree with that. And the reason being is because the interest rates that we receive on our savings accounts are extremely low. And honestly, the truth is this: you want to make your money work for you. So if you have $10,000 sitting there and it's not being utilized, and you're actually doing your business a disservice by not allowing that money to work for you. So at that point, yes, you need to either reinvest it or put it back into the business or put it in some type of instrument that will accumulate a higher return than your normal savings account. So I do agree with that saying.
Yes, I agree as well. One of the things that I live by is give every dollar a job to do. That you shouldn't just have money that's sitting idle, that's not doing anything. Most definitely have things such as a savings account for a specific purpose. Most definitely have things such as an emergency fund for a specific purpose. But when you just have money that's not making you money or that's sitting idle, it's so easy to again let it sit there and do nothing for you, or you will look at it and you will think that it's free money and you're overspending. You will take it from different categories if it does not have a specific job to do. So I agree with that, and I'm a huge fan of keeping your money busy.
I like that. Let every dollar work for you. Like, snap for that. Yeah, I love that. So tell me, it seems like both of you are dedicated and aimed at doing creating generational wealth, especially within Black communities and Black households. Just talk to me on what are some tips, like how do people do that? How do they even get started? Like, where do you start? Because, this isn't something that's taught within our communities a lot.
So I'll start with where do you start? Exactly what you said. It's not something that's widely taught in our communities. My mom had me when she was very young. By the time she started to understand personal finance, I was already a teenager, almost grown. Actually, I had already developed a series of habits that were actually poor financial habits. So it created a cycle for me, because then when I had my first child, I was just learning. So where do we start? With education. Sometimes some families may not have assets to pass down, especially right now. They may not have certain assets to pass down, but you can pass down knowledge. You can pass down the how-to. And I think that is a very good place to start. And so you don't have to just bow out of this building generational wealth conversation because you don't have an asset to physically give your child, but you can sit them down and give them the how-to, give them the knowledge, light the fire inside of them by having the conversations. And for me, that was something that I did not get because my mom didn't have it, because she didn't get it, and my grandma didn't have it. So if it wasn't for me saying, okay, this is a problem, and breaking the cycle, it would be something that I would then be giving to my children. But now I'm putting my children in the position to build generational wealth and get access to assets that could build their money simply by sparking the fire and having the conversation. So that's where you start, simply talking about it.
That was
yes, we love to see it. Yes.
That was deep. I'm going to even go a bit further than what she said. If we don't even have those conversations, I don't care how much money we pass down, they will never allow it to develop and triple and build generational wealth. The conversation is the starter. So you can leave us millions. Without that conversation that they just said, it's going to go right. That's why most of our families go broke once grandma's house is sold and we get the $1 million. We were never taught financial literacy. So yes, it starts by number one, the conversations, and then also number two, the curiosity. Once that conversation starts, you have to be intrigued to go and dig deeper. And then once you start digging deeper, then you have to come back and self-reflect, because you have to now say, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? What things do I need to correct? What habits do I need to break? What additional disciplines do I need to incorporate into my lifestyle? But it also goes back to knowing who you are. If you don't know who you are, you will never be able to build generational wealth, simply because you're buying stuff to keep up with XYZ. But if you were independent, if you knew who you were and know what you want, then what XYZ does is irrelevant to you, because you're focused on the goals at hand. So number one, self-reflection. Well, no, the conversation, number one, the conversation has to be had. And then once the conversation is had, we have to self-reflect and see what we're doing. And then we have to correct the mistakes and go from there.
Nice, nice. You had anything else to add in, Deja? I don't know if I saw you about to speak or not, so I didn't want to cut you
No,
off.
that was amazing.
Y'all preaching here today. Y'all
That was
preaching here.
amazing.
No, seriously. So, we've seen how important is it having multiple streams of income. Of course, you know that's what we're doing nowadays. It's imperative. Just we're not surviving off of one stream of income.
Right.
How important is that? And how do you create multiple streams? Because that's an issue. You know, not everything that you're passionate about is going to be a stream of income for you.
Right.
So how does that work?
I'll go. For me, I think that it is very important. If again, going back to COVID, if COVID did not teach us anything, it's clear that one job is just not enough. Multiple streams of income, side hustles is the new job security. It really is the only way. And for me, getting that done, the way that I like to look at it is, how can I scale one thing that I do into 5, 6 different things versus me as a personal finance coach versus me trying to do things like opening up a boutique, doing hair, doing lashes. Like those are all jobs that pay very well in certain cases, but it requires my one body to do 50 different things versus me. If I am excellent at personal finance, how can I scale this one thing into multiple things that are all profitable? So for instance, me as a personal finance coach, I coach. That's clear. That's the biggest thing that I do. When things had to shift, I knew how to teach other people how to coach. When things had to shift, I knew how to create personal finance content. When things had to shift, I know how to write personal finance blogs. These are all things, information that's already in my head that I talk about every day. I just broke it down in different segments to bring me money in different ways. And now that I've shown that I can do those things and I've created systems that work for me, now I have multiple streams of income where I'm making money and I'm not even doing anything. And that's how I look at multiple streams of income. It is definite. It's job security. But think of the one thing that you are good at. It's a process. Break that one thing down to processes, and you scale off of those things. So you taking your overall goal, breaking it down to 5 different segments, and you have 5 different services, 5 different products, all centered around this same thing. So you're not having to be all over the place. You're sticking to your lane. You're sticking to what you're great at. You're just breaking it down in smaller segments and making money off of each one.
And you're working smarter, not harder.
Yes. Yes.
What about you, Kalasha there?
Oh, I don't know if Deja over vibing or what. I totally agree. And honestly, from the accounting standpoint, from the business standpoint, that's where I see most businesses go wrong. They don't do what Deja is doing. What she said, you start like me with accounting, and then I do taxes, bookkeeping, everything within my industry. Those are my 7 streams of income. What they're doing, they're going out, starting a beauty salon, and they're just not maximizing the skills and the gifts that they're already making money on. And so what I'm finding is they jump from one business to the next and nothing gets off the ground, because guess what? The number one business was never positioned effectively. So I believe that before we can just jump out and, try to do the absurd part and have 7 different industries with 7 different types of income, we need to actually try to scale and grow and have our main business running as a well-oiled machine first. Then we can go and venture off and start something completely different. But the way that you want to do it is stay in accounting or stay in personal finance and then leverage those horizontally. You don't want to just jump, because you're going to have to master multiple different industries and different services. That is exactly why I let go my insurance license 4 years ago, and why I stopped. I let go my real estate license, because I wanted to focus solely on accounting. And when I was trying to study real estate, my accounting suffered. So I'm wondering, how do folks even do it when it's not running effectively and operating on its own? So I'm just backing up with she already took everything that I was going to say, y'all.
Yes, we love to hear it for sure. So talk to me on investing. A lot of people just don't know like how to invest. What's a good starter stock or investment to begin in? Like, how do you even start with investing?
So this is not my strong suit. So I'll let you lead the way. Then I'll just add on from what I've seen from the business side, from the investing, if that's okay.
Okay, so we're going to learn a very great lesson today. I focus on personal finance. Investing is not my strong suit. So when I say we're going to learn a very great lesson, I am not going back as business owners. I do not indulge in topics that I'm not savvy in because I don't want to inform anyone. I know that investing is important, but I definitely stick to personal finance.
Okay, so we'll move on from that. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about? So we know that we mentioned pivot, and with COVID that we, switch gears a bit. What's 3 pieces of advice that you would give to people who are, one, trying to get their finances in order during, this critical time period? A lot of people, remember, are out of work right now. They are struggling to, figure out their finances with paying rent and making sure, they have groceries and things. So what's 3 pieces of advice that you would give for people to start getting, budget friendly and get those finances back on track?
Okay, so I'll lead with this one. I'll just say from what I've seen from the business perspective, is first things first, we have to get the budget. You took it right out of my mouth. We have to get the budget in place. And if we don't, that's where we all need to start. And that's the most complicated part, because the reality is that most of people don't even go through their bank statement. So the first core thing that anyone wants to do to get their finances on the right path, you first have to go and create the budget. But before you can create the budget, you got to do a self-realization when you're going through your bank statements and seeing where you're spending. Because from a woman perspective, and as a wife, I've seen it countless times, and from my client's perspective, where if her and her husband is arguing, my client will spend more money at Saks, or she'll be at Gucci. And I'm like, hey, what happened? Girl, you know what happened? Me and such and such was, I can't say the husband. Me and such was arguing. And I said, okay, you know what? I realized that we have to find our triggers. So while we're doing our budget, we have to figure out what triggers us to spend. And what are the things that we're going to be unwavering about? So like with me, I like my little bag, my little designer bag here and there. I used to do 2 to 3 a year. Now I'm down to 1. But that's one of my I can't even think of the word, but those are one of the expenses that I'm going to indulge in every year due to the hard work that I put into. So number 1 for me, do the budget. Number 2, self-evaluate. Most of us are financially strapped because of our own personal doings, not because of the income or the lack thereof. It's because we've never taken account of actually all of what's coming in. And as Deja said, you want to assign your money to a specific purpose. And if you have $1,000 you're making this week and $800 goes to your bills, you have $200 left. What are you going to do with it? And without assigning it, guess where it goes? Food, clothes. It never goes into investing. So doing the budget, self-evaluation. Then once you do the self-evaluation, I have to throw back this in self-accountability. We're in the state we're in because no one want to be held accountable for what they're doing. We are financially in debt as a whole because of what? Credit, easy access to credit. So we look at it as the fallback. So we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to sabotage our future? And once you do those things, you're going to be able to correct easily all of your mistakes. You'll be able to see clearly what needs to be, adjusted, or what expense needs to be thrown out. And then you can go from there.
Nice. And Deja, you wanted to hop in there?
Yeah, she really covered anything that I can. What I will reiterate is, again, something that I say a lot is personal finance is personal. Along with that self-reflection, definitely understanding that this is a unique journey. It has to be tailored towards your personal goals and around your personal experiences. It is so easy, as we previously discussed, to get intimidated by what other people are doing, what you are seeing on social media, or what your mom says, your dad says, or what your someone you follow on social media says. It's so easy to get intimidated by that. But the biggest thing is to understand that this is a personal journey and it is going to be tailored towards your unique experiences. Also piggying back off of what was previously said, analyzing exactly where you are. A lot of the hardships that we face, again, is because we don't know what's going on with our personal finances. We are not holding ourselves accountable. I have some clients, when we sit down and we talk about money, one of the things that they would say is, oh, Daisha, I don't know where my money is going. I don't know what's happening. And I say, okay, well, let's look at some of your documents. And one thing about financial documents is they tell the truth. We have their story, his story, but the financial documents tell the truth. And when I finally get a chance to look at the documents, I say, okay, I know where your money is going. You ate it. Like you're spending it on on everything. And food is like the biggest expense. So it's always like, hey, you ate it. So actually taking time and analyzing exactly where you are. It is something that I encourage a lot of my clients to do, is to take yourself out on a financial date. Every Friday, I sit down at my kitchen table. I may give me something to eat, and I lay out all of my financial documents for the week. What did I do? Am I noticing any different trends in how I'm spending? I have children, so of course I'm saying, hey, am I sending them money for Fortnite every day? What's going on? I'm analyzing my finances, even at my stage, with what I know. So that would be something that I would definitely encourage people to do, is to analyze where you're at, get comfortable with knowing exactly what you have going in and coming in and going out. It shouldn't be 2-3 months down the line, you're just now finding out about an overcharge. This should be something that you should be aware of same day, if not same week. And also creating a realistic budget, a realistic spending plan. Sometimes we create these plans and they're so far-fetched, and when we don't reach those goals, we get discouraged. We think that, oh, the budget really doesn't work how people say it works, and we give up. And really, it's about creating a realistic plan. It would be silly for me to say in a month I'm going to spend $1 million if I don't bring in $1 million, and I know that more than likely, if it happens, kudos to whoever it happens for, but more than likely, if that's not going to happen, that's not a realistic plan. So that would be the last thing, is making sure that I'm creating a realistic plan and realistic goals for yourself.
Can I add on something?
Of course.
They need to take her advice and apply that same advice towards their business as well, because that the unrealistic goals and not getting intimate with your finances is why most businesses never reach their actual goals.
I have a question. With you guys, both of you mentioned budgeting. Now tell me, I read this often with people who say, oh, I'm not worried about, like, whatever I spend, I'll make it right back, or like increase your income to like fit the lifestyle that you want. How is that true? How important is that? Like, should you just be spending and have it in your head that you're going to make it back, spend what you want?
I'll go, because I just talked about this. I literally just made a tweet about this yesterday. I completely disagree with that. And if any time has not shown us that, this present time right now has shown us that. Because if the mind frame is, I'm not going to budget, I'm just going to keep making money. So what's the plan when the money slows down? COVID-19 pretty much slowed everyone's money down. So if I don't have a plan, a tangible plan that I can go back and look and see what's going on when something like this happens again, and it doesn't have to be a pandemic, it could be a loss of job, loss of income, it could be anything. What's the plan? There's no backup plan. So for me, I completely disagree with that, because all the budget is, it's a plan. It's something that's creating a plan, telling your money what to do before your money actually comes in. That who wouldn't want to be prepared? And so with that type of mind frame, it's very hard for me to stand behind that, because to me, I feel like that's hustling backwards. I care about all of the dollars that I make and everything that I have coming in. So I want to make sure it's actually coming in how it's supposed to come in. I'm spending it how I'm supposed to spend it, versus working myself in overtime and I'm not actually tracking my progress. That's also what a budget does. It tracks your process. So how do I know that I'm being as successful as I say if I'm not tracking my progress? But if I'm projecting, because that's also what you're doing, you're just projecting and estimating that you are actually making the money that you think that you should be making. And a lot of times we think that, oh, the rent is paid, the court note is paid, the lights are on, I'm good. but if we're not looking at a tangible plan, we don't really know what's happening beyond what we can see and behind the scenes. So that I think that it sounds good as an affirmation. If there's something someone wants to say as an affirmation, but actually living that as a lifestyle, as a financial lifestyle, that's not something I agree with.
I agree. I do not agree as well. And honestly, I'm going to take it a bit further. I think they're operating off survival mode. They never got into the flow of things. Mm-hmm. And when we are operating in survival mode, or when we're stuck in that mindset, then we don't have no choice but to stay on that path. Mm-hmm. Once they're able to get comfortable with who they really are and the life they really want to live, they don't want to be on that survival mode. So I don't agree with that at all. And I honestly believe that if we constantly trek on that survival mode, when times get tough like this, we're not going to have the rainy day fund. We're not going to have the retirement account, bill. We're not going to have major equity in our home because we already pulled it out, being irresponsible. So I feel as though that survival mindset is good for the first year of business while you're trying to make it. But once you get a good flow and money is constantly coming in, then you have to shift it to now being responsible, because that's kind of irresponsible, honestly. And especially if you have a family and you have employees, you need to have some type of cushion there. So if the business don't make money because you're steadily pushing it and you spend everything, you have something to fall back on. So I need everybody to shift from survival mode to actually living and having a good flow instead of being in hustle mode all the time.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yes.
I love that. So you mentioned two important things that I wanted to get into, retirement accounts and also home buying. Is this a good time within the market to start looking into that or trying to get into home buying? And with retirement accounts, how do people know what's the best account that suits them?
I'm going to just come from the experience that I have, because I'm just like she said, I don't really talk about things that I'm unfamiliar with. But what I actually do with my clients is that we actually assess whether or not they're going to end up owing a lot of money, because when you're building and you're an entrepreneur, you may not have that free money that's just lingering, sitting there in the first year and a half to just put 10 grand away into a retirement account. So what I notice is that I tend to shift my clients when they've already netted 60,000 in income. So when the business is already netting 60,000 in income, then that's when I have to start being creative with the taxes. And then I automatically, regardless if they agree or disagree, I automatically have them set up retirement accounts to reduce their tax liability. So in that stance, that's what I do. Try to encourage them to invest. And then from the home buying perspective, being an ex-real estate agent, I could say a little bit about it, but not too much in depth. This is the time to buy if you can. However, guess what? It's not too many properties on the market. So you're kind of, the interest rates are a bit lower, but you might be paying a little bit more. So it's kind of offset and balance it out. And so realistically, if you are not financially stable right now, meaning you have a good cushion, some savings, rainy day fund, I don't recommend anybody buying anything excessive or over their budget right now due to the level of uncertainty. The economists don't even know what's going on yet.
And Daisha, you had anything to add in on that?
No, that was good. So I think she covered it all.
Perfect. So two more questions we're going to get into. One of them is, this has been such a pivotal time for Black businesses. We've had the Buy Black Business, Support Black Business initiative. So for people who are hoping to, get started in a business, is this a good time that you guys recommend them starting that? And I know we spoke a little bit on what are some things that you should do or have already set when looking to begin a business. But if you had any tips or advice for people getting started and, making that first step into starting a business?
I would say this is a very great time. If people have an idea and a plan, and there is a need that they know that they can fill, I would say yes. I would not suggest this for someone who just wants to jump out and try it without any plan or any strategy. But I think that the world has showed us a lot of the things that we thought that we had to leave out of our house to do, or that had to be done in a brick and mortar, or that had to be done in an office, can actually be done from our home. A segment that I talk a little bit about with my community is Black women have reinvented the trap phone, where we are making money off of our cell phone, not even having to leave the house. This is the perfect time to really dive into that, especially if you have a service or area of expertise that can be done virtually. This is the perfect time. One of the things that I would suggest is to sit back and watch. We are seeing people and organizations and corporations pivot right in front of our face. I told someone the other day, when it comes to your business, do not let Instagram pull up on you like they did TikTok. TikTok was the hottest thing, and then Instagram came out with Reels. Now we can have Reels, Instagram stories, our Instagram feed without even leaving this app. So to me, it's about staying ready, seeing what is the need, what is the trend. And if you see an opportunity for yourself and you are ready, definitely take it. Just like Instagram did with Reels and TikTok. If you see an opportunity that presents itself and you know that you are great at that, definitely go ahead and shoot out there, but only if you are ready. And when I say only if you are ready, I say that it's not all, it happens, but it does not always happen where you just wake up and you're ready. People get a 5-minute moment off of 5 years that they have been preparing for that. So when you have to be ready. So that would be the biggest thing that I would say. If you see that there is a need out there and you know that you have been preparing for this moment, jump, because do not miss your moment. But it takes preparation definitely to do so.
Nice. Today, you have anything to add in on that?
No, she said it all. I'm just going to expand and just say that you have to actually not only just do the basic business plan, guys, you have to now have a marketing plan and a profit plan as well. And I see so many businesses so many startups, they come without the plan at all, and then they hop on Instagram and don't know what to do. So my advice, just like she just said, if you have an idea that you think you can fulfill, jump out there, but do it with a plan and do it strategically. And don't just go and read all the means and get your LLC and all of this stuff. First of all, talk with an accountant before you just jump out there and open up businesses, because an LLC might work for Bob because Bob only makes $50,000, but you make $150,000. You need an S corp. So you need to just set a plan, put your business plan together, create your marketing plan, your profit plan, and then before you go register your business, go and sit down with an accountant so they can assess the right business entity structure for you, and then give you the first core steps that you need to take to better manage your business finances.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. So talk to me, ladies. We don't see a lot of Black women. Listen, we don't see a lot of Black people in general in finance. So talk to me on how important it is to, see two like-minded individuals, Black women like yourself, on the finance panel in the finance industry. How vital is that?
Oh, this is something that I talk about a lot, and it also was the main reason why I'm in this industry doing exactly what I am doing. I spent years since I was 19 working in financial institutions, and one of the things that I learned is that a lot of financial education is created from a very privileged place, and it's created with the expectation that everybody understands the basics. But when you have people that come from where we come from, that have never been introduced to these financial literacy conversations, from something as small as a budget to something as big as investing, that information goes completely over our head. So you have these spaces, you have this finance industry that is predominantly white men. And so you have people like Black women who are leading in entrepreneurship, leading in education, but we still struggle with getting access to capital and getting access to the information that we need to scale. Who serves us, and who serves us in a way that it is delivered with respect, that it is delivered in a way that we will understand it. It takes another Black woman to help fill that position. And that kind of is where I come in at, working in financial institutions and seeing African-American people talked to or handled versus helped. So me stepping in and filling a void where I feel providing culturally relevant financial literacy resources in a way that is respectable, that can be attained, it is a huge need for that, because you will have people who will rather walk away from the education that is delivered in a condescending or tone deaf manner, so they never get the help that they need if people like us don't exist or don't step in and actually give it to them in a way that it will be well received.
Amazing. What about you, Falasha?
Yeah, so I'm going to just piggyback off what she said. She said representation and she said relatability. What I found is that because I am Black and I'm brown and I grew up in the underserved communities, the way that I handle a budget and dissect it and set it up is different from my white counterparts. You know, we have a savings that's much larger than us. They have, you know, retirement accounts and self-directed IRAs or properties in them. And it's just not relatable or the norm for us. So us being in this space allow our Black people or, you know, people of color to fully understand that finances is for me. And guess what? I can become financially free now. When we weren't in the community, when we weren't part of it, it was like it was unattainable. Financial freedom, it's not possible for my community. And I still get that all the time. Well, I say, this is not for me. I'm not understanding why I'm not getting it. And I'm like, you know what? We were never taught this. It's okay. So just to be able to understand them and understand where they're coming from, knowing that we were never taught this, we're breaking barriers in that respect right away. We can look at them and say, you know what? Mentally, okay, she said something about her dad. Okay, her husband is stressed out. She's handling all the kids. You know what? She might treat herself 2 times. She might need to treat herself 3 times a month, you know, so she won't break down. So us being in the position, we know we're going to force her to put her date nights or her dates to herself in her budget, because if she don't, we know she's going to crack and burn. But if they're not in our position or been in our shoes, they don't understand the needs that we have.
Yes.
Right. No, I 100% agree with you, ladies. So I want both of you to do, what I want both of you to do is just share how we can connect with you. If that's a website, an email address, social media handles, share all of that information so that everyone who's tuning in, they can have you as a Black woman in finance as a resource to be able to utilize. Falasha, I'll start with you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Falasha, the accountability accountant. You guys can find me on all social media platforms. Falasha, spelled FOLASADE, the accountant. And you can go to my website, either one. Just go to my link tree, and you can go to both the brick and mortar or my online brand, and you can find out more about us.
Okay. And what about you, Daisha?
Yeah, so again, my name is Daisha Kennedy, financial activist. You can find me across all social media platforms, The Broke Black Girl. I also have a personal finance group with over 70,000 African-American women in there. It is on Facebook, The Broke Black Girl. Please feel free to join us to continue this conversation there as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. Thank you for all the tips, all the information that you gave out today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course.